Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Gig. I'm your host, Mike Redman. Today, in part 3 of AI and Music, I had the pleasure of speaking with Kevin Taylor. He's a musician and an artist, as well as project manager for BandLab. Kevin intimately understands the relationship between AI and music. It's crucial for every musician to understand AI so they can use it instead of being afraid of it, he says. So as always, let's jump right in. Well, hi, Kevin. How you doing this morning?
Doing good. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me, Michael.
So how's first of all, how's that 2-year-old, 2-week old son of yours?
Man, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's letting me
Uh,
know when he's hungry,
uh,
going to sleep, and then waking me up when the cycle repeats. So
every
I'm sticking
15
with
minutes. I hope not.
this what it
Yeah.
feels like. But yeah,
Well, congratulations. That's a big checkbox, for most of
for
us.
sure.
So I wanted to talk to you today because you work at BandLab. I want to talk to you, especially because you're I'd call it a working musician as well, right? You do
Oh yeah.
commercials, you do, work for hire, like lots of us have. And I think I have some questions for you that kind of you're uniquely qualified to answer. And let's just start though with maybe the short version of your background, growing up in gospel and jazz and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I come from a fairly musical household, but particularly my dad was a he toured with a few artists as a musician, keyboard player mostly, in the '80s. And so I kind of grew up with him around a lot of live music from church
Yeah.
and just kind of seeing him as a producer, producing for his friends and people he knew as well. And just, I tried to fight it. And, they had me in piano classes, classical piano, for a few years. And then I was
Uh-huh.
like, oh, I don't want to do music. I don't want to be just like you.
Hmm.
And tried to run from it and just kind of came running back and started just kind of producing artists in my neighborhood and
Hmm.
friends and making beats. And that just kind of grew and has evolved and taken me in a bunch of different
Mm.
arenas,
Yeah.
from music startup and publishing to working in music technology and
Hmm.
all of that stuff. And now I do a lot of stuff with Sync and in the ad space. But
Hmm.
yeah, been around the block. We can dive into those or keep it going. But yeah, I've touched a lot of arenas.
Hey, you did a great video on YouTube called AI Producer versus Human Producer.
Mm,
And it was about honing the skills you need so you don't get eaten by AI,
hmm
So there were three of them, as I recall. And I think the first one was you need to be able to play an instrument. And could you talk at all about, that video or why you did it or what do you think the takeaway is?
Yeah. Oh man, that was a bit of time ago, but yeah, that was when
Hmm.
AI was kind of starting to really take over the conversation.
Yeah.
But I specifically mentioned that because even though myself, I don't consider myself a great musician,
Hmm.
especially seeing people like my dad or friends of mine that are around. But I do think it gives you the leg up of being able to compose and to create kind of
Yeah.
at will, if you
Hmm.
will, or on demand. And I think especially now with AI being so easy
Hmm.
to use to make music, if you don't understand a little bit of maybe theory or how to
Hmm.
utilize an instrument, you're going to be kind of helpless. I think you're going to feel kind of helpless a little bit, even
Hmm.
when it comes to manipulating AI when it comes to music, because you may not understand what you want it to do exactly. So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I think it's a great skill to be able to fall back on,
Hmm.
as well, just in your creative process.
Yeah, this is there's so much to be learned here. It's so much we don't know, right? I mean, the general consensus of everybody that I've interviewed for this series is we think it may be going here, but we don't have any idea.
Right, right, right. Totally.
you know. So, as an artist, I mean, and a composer, how do you think musicians can like maintain their authenticity while using AI as a tool?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we don't want it to, the fear is that it'll replace us or
Hmm.
whatever. And I think as long as you just continue to you said it, as long as you use it as a tool as part of your creative process,
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. There's a bunch of different ways you can use it as a tool, and that new stuff being created all the time. So to keep the authenticity, you still want to come up with your own ideas.
Hmm.
Or if you even utilize some kind of tool to give you an idea, you still want to expand on that, manipulate it, make it your own. I think at the end of the day, we have always, uh, even when with other music technology over the decades,
Hmm.
it may give you something to spark an idea, but you always want to take it further yourself.
You mentioned that you did some publishing. And this is not, I'm sure I'll throw some questions in here that I didn't send you. So, but the
Yeah,
idea
let's go.
that you were in publishing, do you have any thoughts about, people that are creating music on Sunu or some of these other platforms that just generate music and then the artist just publishes it under their name?
Oh yeah. I that is probably the only thing that kind of pisses me off, I would
Hmm.
say, when it comes to music and technology and AI is I am totally against the idea that a platform, a technology platform, can just absorb music, spit it out, and then upload it and claim it as
Mm,
their own and get royalties from it, because it wasn't their ideas to begin with. And if they didn't even put in any particular work, I don't see how that could be. I don't see it as a musician how you would have pride in it,
right, right.
because the whole idea is that you kind of had to be vulnerable, take
Hmm.
an idea that you weren't sure if people would like, put
Yeah,
it out there, get people to react to it. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't like it, but the
mhm,
point is that, at least it came from you. And
yeah.
so I don't really see that as, I don't see the purpose of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is an interesting dilemma. I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I said, with the right membership, if you're paying enough per month, I used to own two music libraries, Powerhouse and My Music Source. My Music
Mhm.
Source is probably the first big online music library, and I've got a lot of friends in that business. And I'm running it, but if you get a chance, listen to the series that's running right now. It's all everything about library music with
Oh, that's
APM.
gonna be interesting.
It's good.
Oh,
It's really the
APM. Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got five people. Three of them are actually executives. One's a president of APM, and then there's two artists
Mm,
that have been super successful talking about it. It's really good, but they won't license anything that's not exclusive with them.
mm.
And I was talking yesterday, and I said, if I had the right license with X platform, I could say create 12 albums of this kind of music and there's a library.
Yeah.
It's that part's kind of weird and scary and strange, actually. Um, so it is a hard thing. I'm sure that somebody else told me, said, well, uh, the artists that do this, they're AI artists, so they're never going to perform live.
Right.
And there's
Yeah.
this piece of a connection, just the human fan base connection, right? Where they want to see you. They want to see you up there.
Hmm.
They want to see you sweat. They want to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that part will never change. You also work for a company called BandLab, and you are the AI music product manager. Would you talk a little bit about the company and what you guys do and maybe what your job is?
Yeah. So from what I can say, well, BandLab is great. It's probably the most universal app for music creation around the world. Huge
Hmm.
global user base.
Hmm.
I think it stands out from like GarageBand because you can use it on Android as well, which opens it up to millions of more people.
Hmm.
And so people use it as a DAW to like create songs, and
Really?
now,
Wow.
now you can distribute there, you can create beats there. I mean, you can do pretty much the entire process, creative process there.
Hmm.
From what I can say about what I do,
Yeah.
it's we, now being specific with my words,
Now be
but
really careful, right? You can shoot me if you wanna.
well, BandLab is doing a lot of experimenting with creating
Sure.
different AI tools. Some of the big ones out there are they call Splitter, which is
Yeah,
basically
like
stem
stem splitter.
separation.
Hmm.
Stem separation is played with some generative stuff. What else? Voice cleaner, things that like help kind of clear up your
Yeah.
vocals.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of different tools BandLab's experimenting with. Some are more
Hmm.
are working better for others than
Hmm.
others for your users. So I think it's really cool because it kind of introduces the world at large, especially
Hmm.
their young user base, to AI in a way that's useful as a tool and
Yeah,
not as a
sure.
replacement. So yeah.
Can we talk at all about Song Starter?
Yeah, so song starters, it was really successful at the beginning because it's an idea generator essentially.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
you get to describe what you're looking for, and you get these idea starters.
Hmm.
So it doesn't give you an entire song,
Yeah.
which is great, and then you can manipulate the stems with
Mm.
the MIDI
Hmm.
files, and add onto it, take away from it. It's
Oh,
great
so you can
for.
take, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Mhm.
So you can take the things that you're generating and the stems, does it display them as MIDI? Is that
Yeah, so
correct?
that's the beauty of the app having its own digital audio workstation built in. Is
Oh.
you play the kind of clip, and
Hmm.
then it load. If you decide to use it, it'll load it into the DAW, and then you can manipulate it from there. So maybe you just
Oh.
love the piano part that it gave, and then you
Hmm.
want to build on top of that. You can do that,
Hmm.
but it encourages you to add your own creativity because it doesn't give
Yeah.
you the entire song.
Can you take like you've got your stems and it has a piano part. Can you click on the piano part and say, make it, a little more complicated or a little less complicated or a little more blues or any of those kinds
Not
of things?
quite, at least
Hmm.
not yet.
Yeah.
Some of, like I said, a lot of this is in an experimental phase. So
Yeah.
these are things we're getting feedback around
Hmm.
how to use it or how people want to use it.
Yeah.
To me, that's going to be kind of that in painting and out painting
Hmm.
when it comes to AI is going to be a huge tool for people. So, for example, for me, I always use the
Yep.
example, I don't play bass.
Yeah.
I would love to play bass,
Well,
but
that's why that was my next question do you use BandLab or do you just use AI tools in your own music?
I'm still some of the tools I'm trying to decide how to use them and when
Hmm.
because mainly because between libraries and copyright law and all these things are still in flux
Yeah.
around what's going to be accepted. So I tend to I'll use things to get ideas,
Hmm.
but I typically will kind of build my own from scratch, even if it's
Yeah.
based on another idea. But something I would love, to what we were talking
Hmm.
about,
Hmm.
I don't play bass. I try to come up with bass lines on with
Yeah.
MIDI, that I think
Yeah.
are okay. But be able to describe, add a funky bass line to this that sounds
Hmm.
like Earth, Wind, and
Hmm.
Fire. Sounds,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
would be super cool.
That stuff's coming real fast. It won't. You
Oh
won't be
yeah.
having. You won't have to wait very long for that. I remember when drum machines were real popular, and Slate drums came out, and it was like, wait a minute, that's a real
Mm,
guy playing real drums,
yeah.
and then of course Logic does what it always does. It says, oh, everybody likes this. Let's make our own drummer. Uh,
True.
so I guess that the Logic 11 does stems as well. What advice would you give a musician that wants to start using, AI in the workflow? I mean, it's like BandLab is a tool. There's all these different tools, and I was an hour ago. I was talking to a fellow, and I said, we don't care how when you walk into a room, turn the light on. Light. Oh, it's like the light's on. We just take it
Hmm.
for granted. You don't with AI. You don't. I don't feel like there's any real need now to understand how it works, even though we describe that in this series. It's like, how can I just use it?
Well, the first thing I would say is, you still want to have your own vision of like who
Hmm.
you are as an artist, what you want to create.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't get your identity as an artist from the AI tools. So I would still start with whether it's tinkering around on your own or,
Hmm.
you know, writing some lyrics as poetry to start or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
I would say still start with your vision as who you
Yeah.
are as an artist, because then that'll guide. what tools you want to use, how you want to use
Mm-hmm.
them. And then when you do start to explore them, I always, it's the same way I always used to tell kind of like producers, young,
Mm-hmm.
super young producers that are starting, when it comes to like going to YouTube, they're like, well, I'm going to go to YouTube and learn how to use these things. And I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
open the app first, open the
Yeah.
software first, play around with, see where you get stuck, and wherever you
Mm-hmm.
get stuck, say, "Oh, I need to know how to do this." Then I can
Mm-hmm.
go
Mm-hmm.
find a tool, find a course or whatever it is to help me do
Yeah.
that. So I would use AI the same way. Oh, I'm getting stuck on, I don't know, maybe I don't quite play an instrument yet, and I need some kind of lead line
Mm-hmm.
for this. Let me see if there's a tool out there that can generate a melody for me,
Mm-hmm.
and just use it as literally a toolbox. Pull out the hammer or the screwdriver when you need it, and then when you don't need it, you can put it back and continue
Yeah.
to build. So that would be the
That's
biggest
yeah.
thing.
I like that. That's good. That's good advice. Be true to who you are creatively first. What challenges do you see for AI in the music space?
Oh yeah, it's the main. I mean, the main one that comes to mind is still intellectual property and
Mm-hmm.
all the conversations around that. There's a lot of people doing great work around how to sort that out. They're figuring things out in the EU a little bit faster. I
Mm.
think the current, last time I checked in the US,
Yeah.
the current decision is if it's totally AI, you can't copyright it. But if you add your own creativity to it, or
Mm-hmm.
you manipulate it somehow, you can copyright it. And then there's the big conversation around these big companies, or I would say really startups, because most of them are new,
Yeah.
that are using our intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
There's libraries now that I'm seeing that are kind of trying to ethically like have conversations with their composers, saying, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
we want to make more money with your compositions. Are
Mm-hmm.
you okay if we sell some of this data as training data
Sure.
and we compensate you?" I think that's the best approach. But yeah, I think that's just going to be the big thing is how do we utilize training data? How, what's right and
Mm-hmm.
what's not, what's fair and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest issue. And then once that's figured out, I think people will actually be much more welcoming of AI once they
Mm-hmm.
understand how it's going
Right.
to impact them.
That's great. Thank you for that. I think there's several people that concur with what you just said. Kevin, where do you see BandLab in 5 years, 5 years? What will they be doing?
If BandLab continues to, I mean, right now, I think they're the dominant platform for music creation globally,
Mm-hmm.
as far as just access.
Mm-hmm.
You can be in almost any country where you can have any kind of smartphone and utilize it. So I think, man, with AI, it's hard to. It's just like years of speaking like in exponential terms
Yeah. No,
for
okay.
technology.
It could be
But
2 years. Yeah.
but I think by then BandLab will still be the dominant platform.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll have a lot more AI tools, and there'll be many, many more music creators.
Mm-hmm.
I think they crossed 100 million last
Wow.
year, I believe,
Oof.
registered users. And then, yeah, I think that number will probably 5x, if not
Wow.
more.
Do they?
Uh,
Does BandLab allow you to collaborate with other members?
oh yeah, you can.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, you can share like a session, and
Hmm.
somebody else can create stuff inside of there. So yeah,
Do you have any words of encouragement or advice for musicians who are still on the fence about AI?
yeah. So I would say encouragement wise.
Hmm.
We're not going to be totally replaced by AI, at least not anytime soon.
Hmm.
From what I see on the technology side, even behind the scenes, it really takes a lot for these platforms to make really good music, and then
Hmm.
at the same time, you never forget that there's a human element to music, and people
Mm.
typically want to be able to connect with the
Mm.
creator, and so. there will be music floating around that's totally AI, and it'll some of it will be okay, and some of it
Hmm.
people will like. Um, I don't believe that people will rush to concerts or to live performances at their local pub or bar
Hmm.
for an AI and some kind of computer
Yeah, that'd
that's
be pretty
playing
weird.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't be afraid of the imperfection that comes with creating music as a human. I think
Uh,
that's still what makes it special, essentially.
I hope that my listeners, take to heart because you're a nice man. You seem to be pretty successful doing what you're doing. Your thoughts are thoughtful. So I appreciate it a lot.
I appreciate you bringing me on, man, and being interested in my thoughts. Yeah.